Okay. Hello, Mike. Okay. So I started this book 2 years ago. No, 3 years ago. 2.5. Something like that. Before COVID and the lockdowns where everything changed. It'll get better because we're gonna make that happen. Because it had to change anyway. So because everything is not as good as it could be. And so this is a fun book. It is a bit of the history of chemistry. There's a really good series on YouTube called Chemistry, a Volatile History. And it's like a 4-part series. And that's super awesome. And it gets into like the fashion of it and like the aristocracy of chemistry. And then it gets into like the first like isolated elements and there's some funny stories. Anyway, this guy just super fun historian. Like you can tell he loved like studying and researching this entire book, and I love that. I was just watching another historian on the YouTube for the American Revolution Institute Society of the Cincinnati, and they have some great lectures come on. And there was a man who came on and gave an awesome presentation of the 1700s and 1800s military uniform, mainly European, and then he talked about like the American. But he talked about like the significance of like this era where it was just some incredible diversity and like functional realities, and like they're trying shit out in a bunch of uniforms, trying to make it like so soldiers could be comfortable and warm, especially because they're fighting in Northern Europe. And so there's like that in consideration, antibacterial, and then just having like different ways to like maneuver in what you were wearing. And so this historian was, I make it sound boring. He did an awesome job. I'm gonna grab my coffee. His name was, I'm not gonna remember right now. I don't want to get it wrong. But he wore a bow tie in his speech, and it made it everything. I'm so glad I got to read a little chapter here. I started it. So the title again, The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Kean. And other true tales, of madness, love, and the history of the world from the periodic table of elements. And I would like, and you know what will be necessary to move forward as a society that can function with newer and better technology is people really need to all together now have like a basic understanding of chemistry and physics. Like this can't be like the same cognitive reality we all stay in, where it's just some people say, oh, I go to, and like we have to move forward, jobs have to change, we need more chemists, not just like I go sit at a desk and that's like okay. We can't have too many people doing that. We haven't invented anything for a while as a country. That's a huge problem. There's a literal like physicist or professor, I forget his name, but it's We Hold These Truths, Dan Crenshaw podcast episode, and he said, quote, we are at an impasse in physics. And it's like no, you can't do that. Or you can't be at an impasse in a society that relies on innovation to move forward in literally everything. So the glare is going to be there no matter what. Hold on. So, I guess that's just reality. Wait, I sit at an angle. I apologize for all that movement. I should have given a warning, but I didn't know myself. And then I mainly do this for myself because I'm documenting this time, and I'm having I have a lawsuit I will be filing against crimes committed against me, and then it's too much like that happened to ignore, and I have documented it the whole entire way, and these things just can't be allowed to happen. And so I'll do updates on that, but this is mainly for myself, so I don't care about my viewer at all. I do care about my topic though, so I'm going to carry on with that. So I just read a chapter, and I love that I opened to it because there was a group of students playing a game called Secret Hitler. That's so funny because I have, first of all, it's hilarious. I have no idea what it was about. I'm going to look it up later because that just sounds like a brilliant thing somebody came up with. I got this cup at Father Time Antiques in Canal Park, and it's a little 1937, the guy who stepped away from the crown, so King George could take it. So this guy who married Wallace Simpson, the American, and he that shadow's gonna drive me crazy. He moved to America. And then we don't know what's happened to what became of him and his kids. So his grandson would be Prince Harry's age, right? So his great grandson would be Prince Harry's age, and it's where are those guys at? Does somebody keep track of them? Because I feel like they should. Maybe something happened. Maybe they never had kids. Here's the thing. If you look up fashion photos of this guy, and you can look at Pinterest, he was a little fashionista himself, done up, and the way he's photographed in black and white, he's always peering up and away. Maybe he's avoiding the camera. Sure, maybe he's posing, but he has thick cigars, and he has the tightest knit tweed coats, and he is on a mission. He has suit pants, and I'm just saying I want to know, but also I'm this guy 100% was into cocaine, Cuban cigars, and opium, and that's what he went and that's where they went. Right? And I swear to fucking Christ. And that's all I have to say there. Wallace Simpson, she in photos as well, just looks like she was up to something, because she is not. That is a choice to make, to say, oh, I'm going to get the guy who would be the King of England, not to become the Queen of England, okay, which is weird for a woman not to want to do, because she would have became the Queen of England. So what did she choose to do? What did she become the queen of? Wallace Simpson. Come on now. And they were together in the 1930s, okay? And this is I was sharing just a bit of history because I like to make a point of it, because I feel a point isn't made enough, and people were so concerned about Hitler again. A lot of the youth were since 2016. Whether they have good substantiated claims. We do find former Nazis in America all the time. They had just gotten one in 2017. He was 70 years old, or he had been escaped. He was 90 years old, and he had lived there for 70 years in Kentucky, doing who knows what. So they find this guy, they send him back, put him in prison, execute them, study them. Who knows what they do? But they sent him back. There's that like a retrieval program for former Nazis with Germany. So we do find like they're still out there because like a lot of them just got away. It's kind of fairly well known, I guess, at least that like a lot of them went to Argentina to settle, and then there's not a border, so they just ever for like there's no, but people would hunt them down too. Anyway, so it's good to be aware of things, still to be concerned with that era. I agree. It's a nice cup, actually. It's really light, and that's something that you can't disagree with the Nazis, and that's probably why they were able to get like so many partnerships, because we also never talked about like their North Africa, like African partnerships. We never talk about their partnership with the Middle East, really, and like Turkey. And I feel like we should. Because there's like Germany, since like the like Prussian time, they just had a lot of engineering, and so anyway, this is an English cup. It's actually like there's like a little stamp on the bottom printed in England, but in the 1930s, it was like a social club for like a good decade, right? It was a Nazi socialist club. So it was like the workers' socialist whatever club. And so they this guy actually would visit Hitler. Yeah, okay, yeah, or something with the Nazi party. Yeah, I remember reading that. And then people did report on that when Harry and Meghan got together. I remember that. It's like the one thing I looked at. And I was like, nope. And more importantly, actually, to pay attention to is the Nazi parties and really everybody's obsession with chemistry and developing. And this is what Sam Kean just taught me. The cup was made to be eaten with cake. I can tell you that much. Biochemistry. So he's in this chapter, take 2 elements, call me in the morning. Oh my God. God bless you, Sam Kean. This was delightful to read. It was relevant to something I was just looking into it. I do it too much, but somebody has to. Oh my God. I did not come on in vanity, so this is actually like so I feel like I had known birth control was invented at the beginning of this century. And so I didn't remember the story at all. I just know that, and like, that's really like something everybody should be so much more concerned about. For so many obvious reasons, and for so many, and like he'll get to it in their chapter, like compounding reasons. He's a really brilliant writer. Just okay. I was gonna start somewhere else, but then I was like, oh, maybe we'll start here. And I will start here because this is like so well put. Okay, so this guy, Pasteur, this chemist, biochemist, apparently was revolutionary. Sorry, I'll read it. So they're at this institute outside of Paris to further his revolutionary germ theory of disease. Not coincidentally, it was at the Pasteur Institute. Oh, okay, this is where the scientists did the research. In the 1930s, that a few vengeful, vindictive scientists figured out how the first laboratory-made pharmaceuticals worked, and in doing so hung yet another milestone around the neck of Pasteur's intellectual descendant, the great microbiologist of his era, Gerhard Domach. So apparently his work, and it is so beautiful that a lot of these scientists, because of like a family member or someone they loved, did incredible strides for that family member, because it's obviously some of the results from these biopharmaceuticals have been so bad. Anyway, so that's why it's like, think of it how you wish. Okay. So apparently she got strep throat and was like so she got this strep illness, and apparently it could kill you at the time. And this was his daughter. And so he went ahead and did an experiment on mice with red industrial dye. Oh, geez. So there was this chemical that had already been, and how I understand it, it was like a race to like isolate the elements, and then you could say, oh, I found one, and that's the one that goes there, because the periodic table like goes in order, and so it was discovered out of order, and then after like Mendeleev had passed and other scientists working on it had passed, there were still missing spaces for things to be discovered, and so that was like the we're gonna we're going to get radium. We're going to get uranium. And that's what people would race to find. Da-da-da. And so there's this one molecule that contains a sulfur atom. And I guess like similarly, then the race to compound things and see what compounds. You know what I'm saying? So many. And he talks about one in here that was like, whoops, we killed the whole town. Oh no. And it was like in America. And like, that's not a terrorist attack. And it literally says hundreds of people died from just this thing that we gave him as medicine, but actually killed everybody in the town. We'll get to it. I didn't do it. The people in the history did. So he did it. And he saved his daughter's life. And okay. And this is the 1930s, y'all. And again, like nobody knows the Nazis are going to be the Nazis. Because Americans as well, like our socialite clubs in America in the 1930s and like the film clubs. And remember, this is still, actually, I think it was 1930 where Woodrow Wilson showed Birth of a Nation in the White House. No, it was 1914. Probably, I mean, I'm sure it was shown as tradition for quite a while. They only had so many movies. And it was like sold as a comedy, the film. The Nazis, even in America, it was like, oh, there's this like fashion, like, ooh, political party, like talking this idea of y'all club. And so they weren't what the Nazis ended up to be for a full decade. They were like, hey, Guten Tag, film, art, culture. That's what they did. Sound familiar? It's like socialism today, right now in America. It's really scary. So Don Mack again really got into bacteria. He was like, what other things can I fix? You know? Also, like, he probably made a lot of money. Apparently, he worked for, so this was in Germany then, or wherever, but it was IG Farbenindustrie, IGF, the company that manufactured Zyklon B, which I think was the gas in the chambers. And then they sold this bacteria that he would split. This evolves down to hormones and birth control. So this, and I forget like a lot of the chemical things, because like paint was, Prussian blue was one of the one things chemists, it was like, if you could make this paint, that was one of the first chemical, like bourgeois things. Like if you can make this paint, oh my God, you're going to get so much money. Everybody around the world is going to want to paint with this paint. And so Prussian blue was one of the first ones that was like, bam, money, control, check out this Prussian blue. And so a lot of chemicals, like radium as well, the glow in the dark, would just be sold for like paint. So it says this bacteria that they would isolate for this compound. I don't know if it was bacteria, but it was sold as a dye. And then the dog Mac, the guy that saved his daughter with curing her strep, would split it and create a birth control. And so this started in 1932 for this particular birth control. I don't know what the 1909 one was. And then it became like they would put in like race baiting, like we do in America today. Politics will do anything to get their means to an end done, and so will tyrants. And so so they would start to say like all the French suck. The Germans would say, don't use their hormone, fuck the French. And then the Germans would say all the opposite, both. It's usually how racism works. Takes two to hate is what they say. Well, like national racism, because they're bordering each other, so they're conflict. And so this company is just making millions of dollars within 4 years. 1936, IGF, and it's like birth control. I wonder why a bunch of men would want to purchase and invest in birth control. That's weird, right? You tell me. I can't think of a single reason. Not one. And then I just love that the author put in at the end of this page about it. He goes, never underestimate spite as a motivator for genius. Overtime. Never underestimate spite as a motivator for genius. And just, we're talking about birth control. Men inventing birth control for the beginning of World War II. Super excited. Just like, I think 5 times their stock in 4 years is what this page says. Okay. And controlling bacteria. So it's like hot dog, Yahtzee, you know. Oh, everybody will demand it all around the world. Super. Not to mention everything that comes with that kind of massive demand. You know, no bueno. More coffee. Okay. Oh, I love that in the back. It says Sam spent years collecting mercury from broken thermometers as a kid. I also remember handling mercury as a kid. 2 peas. Okay, not to brag. I wonder what the stats look like on how many people alive today actually like as a kid, because that was a thing for a while. It was like, oh, just play with it. It's fun. It moves around in your hand. It's like you're touching an alien substance. And it may or may not cause brain damage. Okay. And then they got into the huge ego. They're men, right? And it's like, oh my God, I'm the most important. I control life. Not only did these men control life, they controlled the reaction speed of life. I think a statistic he uses in here to describe that reaction speed was like, let me find it. I want to say something like, I feel like a lot, like 12,000 times what would like naturally happen. So Yeah, I don't know where that's. It's something like that, like a huge amount. And then, yeah, and then, in World War II. It's the things they don't write about. Motivation. I'll read again. My favorite line from this whole chapter that I have read. Never underestimate spite as a motivator for genius. Talking about birth control. And speed of chemical reactions. A lot, mostly to do with bacteria and biochemical compounds. Oh, you gotta laugh at the horror, So, anyway, these people were all totally mentally stable and totally qualified to be in massive positions of power. It was, oh my God, obviously I'm kidding. And then, 1950s, they let him sneak back in. A German drug company in the 1950s began marketing a remedy for morning sickness. I don't know where an Operation Paperclip started, but that's the one where all the scientists were hired by the American government that we chose to excuse for their crimes against humanity in Europe. Or just who had been captured and then we hired back. I don't know. I don't believe anything about the Nuremberg trials that happened in Europe for people who have already covered up the worst crimes. Like, what? No. Do them again. One more time. I want to see everybody present that's relevant. Their grandkids can stand in for them. I'd like to see that body language myself. Thank you. In America, televised, live, part de the Nuremberg trials, please. Also, we need a movie on Operation Paperclip. I would love to see an artist rendition of that. I don't know who would star in it. Somebody who can just play a real asshole. Who's ever idea that was? I can think of so many people. Okay, and then so this drug caused freakish birth defects, children born without limbs, feet stitched like turtle flippers. I didn't read this part yet. I only heard half. Oh my God. To their trunks. Oh God. Also, don't really, their trunks, like their belly. Oh. Can you imagine giving birth and then, oh my God. Oh my God. They're saying that apparently the scientist said, oh, whoops. That's what, there's like an excuse. And it goes like, oh no, whoops. Monsanto comes in to help. Super. And so this is actually interesting. He's kind of describing that they can't get the chemicals to turn the way they want them to. So they're saying that they're able to do it in a lab or with mice, but then when they go to do it on the live human, the subjects it's being made for, that the chemicals are flipping in a way that's not replicating what they intended. That's actually what he's describing. It's interesting. They're calling it like left-handed and right-handed chemistry. But I like to, like I said in other videos, check up on like physics journals, and there's an awesome source online called physics.org, and it's a bunch of, or .uk, I don't know. I just Google physics news, and then it'll tell you like the university the journals come from, and it's like a bunch of journals all day, every day. And they were describing a month ago in one of the journals that starting at one of like the heavy metals in the periodic table, that it's been like some scientists have updated it for function, and that one of the things that scientists are saying was actually like very insufficient or like incorrect or like was too overcorrected for was one of the heavy metals, and that they changed the way they put it in like equations for chemistry, if I'm getting that right. And I want to say it was cadmium. I don't know if that is the right metal, but it's interesting to see this issue come up in the micro biological chemistry. Yeah, and then they get just fucking birth control to work, and it smells like a motherfucker. Oh my God. And you know what? It's used like the wheat crop all around the world for birth control. Believe it or not, that's what happened. Well, yeah, so the UN needs to be audited, and we need to get them the fuck out of there. Fuck the UN. Replace them. Every state, do your own thing. Let the youth run it, the ones that feel like they have no purpose and are destroying shit and committing suicide at the highest rate in all of human history. Let them just pick a country to feed, and the UN can just please go away. You're terrible people. You have a terrible history, and you definitely have so much child sex abuse that I like have sympathy for the Catholic Church every time I read about it. So I'll end my little book review here, which I'm glad I did. Again, because I'm a lifelong learner, and so I like to add to my lifelong learning. There's always somebody looking to sell sex in the chat. That's okay. I do this for myself, and it's annoying though. Okay, so so people would just also, he talked about this at the beginning of the book, which I read like a year ago, but I loved it, so I remember it. Partly quite the here. Oh my God. But people would just like make anything medicine. And again, that's what they would sell, poison as medicine all the time. There's another really good book by Mark Shapiro called, I forget, but he talks about like in a couple of his chapters, this sort of like, for a time in America and in Europe, you could say, hey, buy this poison. It's medicine. And then everybody would fucking buy it. A bunch of people would die, and then life would go on. That still happens today. And then he talks a bit about that reality in the early 1900s here, where everybody wanted to buy this hormonal thing first for like flu season. And so they were taking it for that. And then some people were selling it with antifreeze to sweeten it, because antifreeze, they would like test like chemical properties like flavors, and then you would make toxic things. They would say, oh, but it tastes sweet. And so then it killed a town with hundreds of people in it. somewhere in America. Antifreeze, sweeten things. I feel like I wish more people would start to petition for high schools to have like relevant information for like courses, because this would be way more interesting for a history class and relevant to people concerned. All young kids are concerned about the Nazis when they learn about them, and this is just really relevant to healthcare today. And that is the review I felt like doing. All right. People are very adaptable. Obviously, we would be all evolved from this stuff that's been in our society for a while. We shouldn't carry it on. It has side effects that we can see today in like bone mass and lack of testosterone, cognitive illnesses. The chapter actually ends with antifreeze was found to cause like Parkinson's disease. And then those same chemists later find a cure for Parkinson's disease in the 60s after creating Parkinson's disease in the 30s. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, be aware of that sort of thing. Have a good night. But don't be afraid of it, because knowledge is power.